Hey everybody, David Shapiro here with a new video. Okay, so I'm kind of upregulated because I'm really excited. So if I go too fast, I'm sorry. Y'all have been really excited about AutoMuse 3. And so the premise of AutoMuse 3, in case you haven't seen that video yet, it's down here. So the idea was that I was going to set up two simulations. There was going to be a scene simulation and a character simulation and a world simulation, or I guess multiple simulations. That works, but I realized that I'm thinking about it all wrong. So the whole idea behind simulating a world and characters was that came about as a way to test Miragi, which is my cognitive architecture work. But I realized that the simulation approach would work really well for open-ended, like sandbox kind of worlds, which would be really good for like video games, so that you can have video game characters that have a sense of agency and kind of have their own ideas. However, so that's one direction, and also I don't know anything about making video games, so it's going to take a lot of work to hold a text-based simulation together. I am brainstorming stuff there, so I'll come back to it. But looking at my most popular videos, the stuff that y'all really want is, at least that gets the most views and the most hours watched, is writing fiction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate out AutoMuse from the simulation side and to the fiction writing side. So one of the gold standards is writing long form fiction. That is something that a lot of people want to do, and it is very difficult to do. And why is it difficult to do? Well, as I said in a previous video, it takes us writers literally years worth of work in order to write long form fiction. That is how much cognitive labor goes into writing novels. So that's when I was thinking, like, okay, I'm not thinking about this right. So I had to go for a walk to kind of get the gears turning in my head. That's why I'm so upregulated. And I actually like almost ran back. I walked about a mile or two from home, and then I was like, wait, I got it. Okay, so what I do is, in order to break down these cognitive tasks into large language model tasks, is called decomposition. And there's a paper out there about decomposing tasks with large language models. But it does still, at this time, generally benefit from having an expert do this decomposition. So I was thinking, okay, there's two primary methods of writing stories. One is the pantser method, which is it's flying by the seat of your pants, and you just sit down and write and see what comes out. You don't worry about coherency or anything like that. And I realized that that's what I was doing with AutoMuse. Was it was basically, if you create a good enough simulation, and you just simulate a character, you simulate a world, and you just fly by the seat of your pants. This actually worked up to a certain point. So if you watch this video, actually no, it wasn't this one. What was I working on? It was the one with the dragons. The scene simulation, right. Okay, so I created a short story here, and I realized it got stuck on repeat. But this is a story. And I was like, wait, hold on. I did this. This is pantsing. But then I was like, okay, got stuck on repeat because the story kind of got to a logical conclusion. And then I realized, oh, this is the problem. Once you get a premise, once you get like the first, page or two of a story, it takes different cognitive tasks to expand it from there. And so that's when I realized, like, okay, so this scene simulation, the simulation method, is a type of pantsing, where you just say, okay, I'm just going to set the scene and push play in my brain and write what comes out. That's pantsing to a T, 100% pantsing. So I was like, okay, well, what happens with pantsing? Pantsing is you start with a premise and you expand on it, and that's as far as I got. Where if you look at this one, the scene simulation, let's see, what was it? Write novel. So I started with this premise here, which is just the opening of a story. Just sit down and start writing, and then you expand on it. And so you expand on it, and then each of those chunks that you created, you expand on those. And then finally, once you get to enough, so it's generation and refinement is the cycle for pantsing. So once you generate enough, then you start the process of refinement. So refinement is solidifying the characters, solidifying the plot lines, maybe doing some developmental editing, like changing the order of operations. That is going to be really dang hard. But I realized that it's got to be staged. So I was like, okay, pantsing is really difficult. It's really messy. So I probably won't do that first, which is why I was having such a hard time making progress with the scene simulation and the character simulation method. I was just like, wow, this gets so messy so fast. But it's a start. So basically, I got to this point where you start with a premise and then you do the first tier of expansion. But then it requires a different kind of expansion to expand further, where you just sit down and write. So we'll get back to that. What I do as an author is, well, most authors are somewhere in between. So a pure pantser just sits down and writes, and then you get to where you're stuck, and then you start over again. It's, revision hell. It's about just drafting. And then I tend to be more on the plotter side, which is you start with a premise, then you figure out your title, your theme, your setting, your characters, and your plot. And then you generate an outline, and then you generate scenes. And so this is much more structured, which means it lends itself to coding. Now, obviously, this is, if it's just recursive expansion and refinement, that also lends itself to coding, but each of those steps is much messier. So we'll come back to it. And that's what this loop is here. So you basically, you expand your story until you get to a point where you're satisfied, and then you refine it. You expand, refine, until you end up with a final product. So that is the end loop. And that's going to be a lot of fun to figure out, let me tell you. Now, with Plotter, it's not much different once you get to the end. It's just that you have a little bit more structure and a little bit more planning. And then once you get to, because all a novel is a list of scenes, right? So then once you get to the list of scenes, like you've got all the scenes written out, then you just iterate over those and refine them. And I say that's all you do. It's not quite that simple. But from a high level standpoint, that's what it is. So the AutoMuse 3 / the scene and character simulation, that got to this point. So what I'm going to do is I started a new repo called Plotter Novel Writer. And all I'm going to try and do is get to here today. So one of my most popular videos of all time was the movie script generator, where I already generated 200 premises. Sci-fi, romance, mystery, fantasy, so on. So I copied that, and that is here. So Plotter Novel Writer. So here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and I'll grab a random premise, and then I'll generate title, theme, setting, characters, plot. So that's what I'm going to try and do. And I'm just going to do just phase 1 of plotting today, because that's going to be enough. Okay, so I'll go ahead. You don't need to see me do the baseline of coding. This is the introduction. So let me get started on this. I'll pause it, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what I've got. Okay, we're off to a good start. So I did a quick prompt engineering to get a title generator. It's not perfect, but it's all right. So the righteous few, I love that. Okay, the invasion of the Malachim. Yeah, so that's doing good. The ISS Enterprise versus the Malachim. All right, so we'll copy this and we'll save this as UUID, and then we will do this premise, and then we'll cut that out, and we'll save this as prompt title. And so the reason that we're starting here is we'll start with title, theme, setting, characters, plot. That's as far as I'm going to try and get today. Okay, so then we come back here. We'll do from UUID import UUID4. Okay, so I've got as far as this, just picking a random premise. So CLS, let me make this bigger for you. Properties. Good grief, can you tell how upregulated I am? All right, so Python plotter. The human race has reached a point where we have exhausted all of Earth's resources. Okay, so let's plug this in just to see how it handles this. So premise, and then we'll clear that out. Perfect title, The War for Earth. kind of generic. The War for Earth 2.0. Colonialism, The Last Stand. Okay. Let's see. Unique perfect title. Let's see if that makes it a little bit better. The Last War for Earth. Okay. The Last Colony. Alien Nation, The Last Battle. Okay, sure, fine. We can fine tune a better title in the future, but that's fine. Okay, so we'll do unique perfect title, pithy, catchy, and memorable, so on and so forth. All right, so then we will say prompt equals open file prompt title.text replace UUID with string UUID 4, and then replace premise with the premise. And that should be good. And then title. Yes. Title equals GPT-3 completion prompt, and then we'll do temperature equals 1.0. Because if you notice here, I turned the temperature up to 1, but in this function, I have it default to 0.7. So that's fine. All right, so we'll get a title, and then we will do, well, I guess that's fine. I can store all this. Let's see. We'll do stories. So then we'll save it all to a directory in here. Let's see. So I'll probably just timestamp the stories. Yeah. Okay, let me do a little bit more work and then we'll be right back. Okay, so I got the title. So it'll generate a title and then it'll set a story path. And it'll just generate the make a folder for it. So I'll have a folder to store everything for that story. So it'll be able to run repeatedly. So let me just show you real quick what I mean. CLS Python plotter 01 unexpected argument temperature. Oh, I need to change that to temp. Ta-da! Okay, try that again. Oh, and I probably also need GPT-3 logs. So there's the premise. When error file is incorrect, stories soulmate. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so it added quotation marks. So if we go in here, it said the unique perfect title, The Soulmate Connection, A Journey to Love. That's actually not too bad. Okay, so I need to remove quotation marks from the title name. All right, and this is why you test your code, kiddies. Okay, so story path. So we will also do .replace, remove double quote, and we'll do with nothing, and then we'll also replace single quotes just in case, because those don't play nice with file names. Yeah, there we go. Actually, here title. We'll go ahead because we don't want those in the title anyway, so we'll put those there. All right, let's try it again. Delia is a small town librarian. Oh, I didn't have it output anything, but it completed. Okay, so theoretically, the librarian and the murder. Lovely. And then stories, librarian and the murder. Okay, cool. And then title, librarian and the murder. Perfect. Let's see. I probably need to remove and the as well. So it'll be just like librarian murder. Okay. Actually, no, that's fine. I'll leave that. Okay, so we can generate a story that way. And if there is a duplicate, it'll probably bomb. But that's okay, because I've got 200 premises. Okay, So next up, we need the, whoops, come back. We need the theme. Generate a theme. All right, and so that takes us back up to the playground. So I have, here, let's give another one. All right, given the following story, write a few sentences about the theme of the story. Be imaginative and creative. Title, Alienation, The Last Battle. Theme, all right, let's see if this works. Theme of the story is the fight for survival. The human race is in a desperate battle against a hostile alien force, and they are fighting for their very existence. The story is about courage and determination of the human spirit. This is like your typical catastrophe story, and how we will do whatever it takes to survive. Okay, that's... let's see. Let's write a paragraph or two. Let's see. Explore universal truths and ideas. Let's see if we can get a little bit more than this generic boilerplate whatever. We are faced with overwhelming odds. We must maintain our hope and resolve. That's a little bit better. Let's try that again. Theme of this story is the fight for survival. The story is a testament to the human spirit and our will to survive against all odds. Okay, I mean, that's pretty much what this story is about, so that's fine. So we'll copy this, come over here, UUID, and then we'll do title. Premise. We'll save this as prompt theme.text. Okay, and so then we'll come back to plotter 01. And so we've got the title here. So let's go ahead and do prompt open file, and we'll just copy that theme now, UUID string theme, premise, and then we also need to do dot replace title with the title that we generated. And so then the theme here, theme equals GPT-3 completion, temperature, we'll leave that the same, that should be good. Yeah, okay. All right, we don't need to do the makedir this time, so then we'll just do save file, story path plus theme. All right, so it's just a couple steps here and there. So let's test it again. Oh, actually, let's output stuff as we go. So we'll do premise. We'll do new line, and then we'll do print title and title. And then we'll do the same for theme. Okay, so now we'll get some output as we go, and I don't have to go back into the folders every time. Premise, the crew of the ship, the Explorer, the prisoners of Planet X. What is this, the 50s? That's great. Get some pulp. The theme of this story is learning and understanding. Humans and aliens are both curious about each other, and they learn a lot from each other. The aliens learn about the humans in their world, and the humans learn about the aliens in their world. The theme is also about cooperation and understanding. Okay, cool. I love it. I love it. Okay, so this is the expansion. This is the brainstorming part of the story. Okay. So we're getting some good early success, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's go back into here, stories. So prisoners of Planet X. Love it. Love it. All right, so next, let's consult my diagram. We need a setting. Okay, so describe the settings in great detail. Yeah, this is where it's starting to get a little bit harder. So we'll come in here, we'll grab the prisoners of Planet X. So playground. So let's see. Given the following story, describe the settings in great detail. List the settings. No, instead of describe, we'll say describe or imagine the settings in great detail. If there are multiple settings, list them out. and write about them. Include details such as history, culture, um, geography, and so on. Okay, so title, The Prisoners of Planet X. And then we'll go in here and grab the premise. Come here. And the theme. The theme we generated is this. Okay. Whoops. No. And then setting. All right, so let's see what it does. Very different from Earth, and the aliens are very different from humans. Humans are not familiar with the planet, and they don't know anything about the aliens. The aliens are curious. Okay, so this is very generic. Let's see. Be specific. Come up with place names and concrete details. Okay. Detailed setting. Okay, well, it's not coming up with a name. But that's a little bit better. So, all right, I'm probably gonna go just move on from here because coming up like inventing like religions and cultures and place names, that's probably going to require fine tuning, especially because the instruct series is so kind of generic like this. So I'm just going to let this go for now, and we're aiming for an MVP. Okay, so we'll do this. UID. Let's see. We'll do title, premise, theme. Okay, and we'll do back up here, and we'll do prompt setting. Let's actually write this a little bit different. Brainstorm about the settings for the following story. Write a few paragraphs. Let's see if that's any better. Because if you use the verb brainstorm, it's usually much better. The aliens live in the desert in huge glass cities. That's interesting. Huh, okay. It still didn't write a few paragraphs, but that's okay. Planet X. I guess that's the name of it. Okay. Made up of skyscrapers and connected by bridges. Oh, this is much better. Much better. Okay, cool. So we'll copy this out and come here. Okay. So brainstorm is good. We'll definitely need that when we get to character. So let's come here. Here, I'll pause it. You don't need to see me. This is just going to be the same thing over and over again. Okay, let's test this to make sure it works. Python plotter 01. In the dark and rain-soaked streets of a nameless city, a hard-boiled private detective. Okay, the big sleep. I love it. Corrupting influence of power. The victim was a politician. All right, setting the story set in a dark and rain-soaked city. The city is nameless, but it is clear that it is a large city. Actually, that's interesting. Like if you just never name it, it's just like, yeah, okay. The victim is a well-connected politician. All suspects are powerful people with something to hide. Okay. Yeah. It ends up talking about the characters, which I don't like. But Yeah, this is going to require fine tuning. Let's just get through it. Let's see what works and what doesn't, and then we'll do fine tuning because fine tuning takes 100 times as much effort as prompt engineering. Okay, so what's next? Next on the docket is characters. Okay, cool. So given all that, let's brainstorm a few characters. Yeah, so we'll come in here and so setting. Okay. List names, backstories, and personalities. So we'll do setting, and then we'll do brainstorm characters. Let's see if this works. Captain James T. Kirk. No, that's called plagiarism. Brainstorm original characters. I wonder if the Prisoners of Planet X is actually the name of a Star Trek episode. Let me check real quick. Okay, no, it was the Fantastic Four. Anyways, so we'll add in brainstorm original characters for the following story. So we'll say original, unique, not used before. All right. This is definitely going to take, yeah, even with a temperature of 1, it's also just like constantly generating James T. Kirk. Yep. All right. Oh boy, this is definitely going to require fine tuning. That's fine. Brainstorm original characters for the following story, list names, backstories, and personalities. It does do a list, so that's nice. Let's see. Prompt characters. So then we do title. Here, you don't need to watch this part. This is boring. Boring. All right, let's run this again, see if we get some characters, and we're almost done. Yeah, plot. So plot will be like just list everything out that happens. And again, using instruct series is not very creative. It was very much, yeah. Okay. A space shuttle carrying a team of scientists, the survivalist. The planet is located in a remote galaxy. Atmosphere is toxic and incredibly hot. The creature is the only living thing. Okay. Characters: John, the team leader, no nonsense type of guy. Karen, David, the creature. Okay, yeah. So we got some characters. So that's good. That's good. That's good. We'll go with that for now. Again, this is just like this is minimum viable product. Obviously, all these names are like not just like white people names. These are white American names. So we're going to need to get a little bit more creative and generative with this. And also in the brainstorming phase, you really want to see a little bit more creativity. So like when you're talking about the setting, you really want to expand on that and kind of come up with unique ideas. This, like I said, this is going to take fine tuning. But another thing to think about is, okay, we take a premise and then we expand on it, but then we can expand on each of these, right? So like, well, I guess title, you don't need to expand on that, but theme, like you can just write a litany on theme. You can write a whole bunch about settings. So I might actually do that where we've got like layer 1 of the setting and then like let's iterate on it again in the future versions where you just like, let's write a few pages about the setting and then let's write a few pages about each character and then like a few pages of the plot. So it might be like phase 1 is just get something on paper. Oh, I meant to tell you this. So there is a rule of thumb in writing, which is you cannot edit an empty page. So that's why it's just like, let's go as fast as possible. We'll worry about refinement later, because once you've got something that you can edit, then you can make it better. So it doesn't matter if it's generic, if it's boilerplate or whatever, because you make it better over time. And that's this recursive, this iterative loop that we'll get to. But what I'm thinking is that it almost might be that we need to iterate starting here. But I also don't want to get too far ahead of myself because reasons. Let's see, zoom 100%. So, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Make that a little bit bigger. Ta-da. Okay. Zoom fit. There we go. Okay. So Yeah, and then we'll just send this to back. Order, send to back. Okay, make this slightly different color so it stands out. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay, so we might need these like iterative loops so that we can refine it over time. All right, I'm getting distracted. Let's carry on. Where was I? Okay, so we got characters. Now, the last thing is we need to generate some plot. Generate some plot. All right, I'll pause it, do a little bit of prompt engineering, and we'll be right back. Okay, first pass of this is brainstorm a highly detailed plot outline, list all the story beats in sequence, and describe each plot element with a few sentences. So this one that we were working on, where it's just kind of the generic like creature movie, the team arrives on the planet and begins to explore it. That's not a few sentences. Curse you. Instruct series model. They find the creature and are immediately intrigued by it. They begin to study the creature and quickly realize that it is immune to the conditions of the planet. You don't say. They soon discover that the creature is trying to learn about them. The team begins to understand the creature and they come to realize that it is intelligent. They also realize that the creature is the only living thing on the planet. The team begins to feel sympathy for the creature and they decide to help it. They find a way to take the creature off the planet and give it a new home. Okay, so there's no reversal. There's no, like, okay, this would be a good short story. But that's okay because, again, we generated something. We can make it better over time. So let's go ahead and copy this out. I'll go ahead and pause it. You don't need to see me cleaning this up. This prompt works good enough, and we'll probably call it a day. We're already at 30 minutes. All right, let's go for the final test of the day. Small town in Japan, a young woman is found dead. The Black Feather Mystery. Ooh, good. The theme of this story is the power of determination. Okay, good. The story is set in a small town in Japan. Typical Japanese town. Climate is temperate. Okay, yeah. Traditional businesses. Naomi Tanaka, the sister of the woman that was murdered. Great. That's a lot of characters. And then finally, the plot. Outline. Naomi Tanaka is a private detective. Ooh, the sister. Okay. She teams up with the local journalist, Hiroshi Nakamura. The police are also investigating the case. So this is a lot better. So it seems like GPT-3, the Instruct series, does a little bit better with. It doesn't like sci-fi as much because this is like a real plot. Yeah. Okay, so this is definitely enough to get started on. One thing that I noticed though is that especially when we do the lists, we need to disable this thing that I have here. So I'll just go ahead and remove the resub. So what I often do this just to compress anything so that it removes excess vertical white space or just excess white space in general. But okay, we'll call this a day. So let me just show you. So the Black Feather Mystery, like this is legit. Let's close all these. So we're generating stories. I love this. Okay. The Black Feather Mystery, the theme, got the setting, got the outline, got the characters. Am I missing anything? Title, theme, set. Yeah, I got all 5. All right, so we start with these 5. And I guess the outline, that's kind of, I probably named that wrong. Anyways, so I think tomorrow or whenever I come back to this, what we're going to do is we're going to loop through this again. So we're going to do this where we try and make each setting or each, item a little bit better. So we'll iterate on the characters, the plot, the setting. Might also start doing some fine tuning. I'm not sure though, because again, like you start with something, you get something on the page, and then let's see how far we can get just with prompt engineering. Because, and here's what I mean. I'll give you kind of a sneak preview of what I'm thinking. Yeah, let's start with a theme. Okay, so we'll zoom out a little bit. Given the following theme, write more about. Let's just write more about it. Expand upon this idea and explore the humanity and the philosophy of the theme. Okay, so theme. So then we'll do expansion, and let's see what it does. So you just ask it to iterate on it. So motivated by more than just a desire for justice, she wants to understand. Okay, she is determined to find out the truth, even if it means going up against powerful forces. Okay, so it's drifting. It's kind of talking a little bit more about the character, but yeah. But they are determined to find out the truth. So okay, so the theme here is like you want the truth no matter what, no matter the dangerous part about questions is that they have answers. Okay, so it could be better, could be worse, but this is where I'm going with it. All right, thanks for watching. Tune back in. We'll do a little bit more of this work coming up soon. We're in the expansion phase, brainstorming, expansion, and then we'll get to the actual writing phase and then the refinement phase. All right, yeah, I'm excited. Like and subscribe, and consider supporting me on Patreon. See you next time.